Today we have a Pokemon FireRed that was sent in by a customer, and it's not booting. There were some damaged pins. The customer's actually going to be calling in as well, and I'm going to be showing him the process because he was kind of curious about that. And we're going to go through the repair process together, and if he has any questions along the way, I'm going to answer those. And let's get started. So this is the Pokemon FireRed game. You can see we have some traces here that are bent, possibly broken, but we're not going to know until we get this chip off. Actually, now that I'm poking at it, what we might be able to do is just push these traces in. Because if it's just the traces that came loose, maybe we could just push it in and then reflow. And then that saves us the time of having to, whoops, redo the whole chip. I imagine they're not broken. Let's see. Let's try that. Because usually it takes a lot of wiggling to break the trace off completely. And once it's soldered in place, it's not gonna go anywhere. So I think that's actually looking okay. So what I'll do next is I'm gonna put some liquid flux down. And if this doesn't work, then I'll take the chip off and we'll take a look at the traces underneath. But I just want to do the minimal work possible first. And I'll turn on my fume extractor, and then I'm going to change the nozzle on my hot air gun to something a little bit bigger. So this is the size of the nozzle compared to what we're going to be working with. And I'll put my air up to 385. I'm just doing full speed. I'm going to start by just heating the area up a little bit, just warming it up. And then what I'm going to do is I'll come in on this side and I'll just press down. And then I'm going to come in and see if I can get that solder to liquefy. I'm going to try to point it away from that chip. I'm going to let go. And let's see how we did. I'll gently poke it. If it moves with the trace, then we're probably in business. See how when I move the pin, now the trace is moving with it? There we go. So that should be good too. They do look a little bit dry, meaning like there's not a lot of solder there. Let's actually bring it in a lot closer, we can see.
A question.
Sure.
Was the pressure that or the force that you applied with the pin enough to move those pads just by itself, or did you have to do something to it beforehand to repair it?
I haven't done any work to the board before you saw it now. So everything that you've seen is exactly what has been done. The only one that might be, see that one right there that has like the copper exposed?
Yes.
That might need some work. I'm also not sure what's going on there. See that like glob of white?
Yes.
I'm not sure what that is either.
Okay.
But so what exactly was your question? You're wondering if I had done any work prior?
Yeah, because I was surprised at how quickly, well, not how quickly, but how loose those pads were because you were just able to just push them with the pin.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, a lot of times when these chips come in, let me show you, um, like this other side that I haven't touched. See how like the tips of those feet are lifted up? Let me see if I can come into this side here and I can kind of show you. It's a lot of times what happens is the chip is just like barely on the surface when it gets soldered on.
Okay, I
So the
see. So
connection,
it doesn't really get like a good touch onto it. It's kind of just sitting on top and
yeah, and then when the board gets flexed a few times, it'll just pop off. Usually these bigger chips are fine because there's more surface area, but those smaller ones are a lot more fragile.
okay, understood.
And it could just be the way the light is hitting it where it makes it look like the tips of the feet are sticking up. Yeah, it probably is because it looks fine there. Let's look this way on the side that we just touched up. See how that copper's like sticking up?
Yes. And the middle, right?
Yeah. Well, it's not broken. It's still solid. Like it's, um, I think at this point, those actually look pretty good. I'm a little concerned about that trace getting pushed up. So I think what we'll do now is we'll just test it and we'll see if it's working. Because why not? That'd be easy, huh? Let's see. You said it wasn't getting past which part?
So it'll show the purple under the main logo. Okay, nice. Yeah,
Oh,
it's working. It's
cool.
loading.
Let's just make sure it's saving and everything too. We'll see if it loads the save. Master.
It is. It very much is. That's amazing.
Cool. Okay. So that one's good to go. You want to? Well, let me try loading the save. I'm gonna pause the video real quick and then I'll just make sure the save is loading. So the other game that was sent in is this Pokemon White. These were all sent in together, and I already have the PCB out. And this one was suffering from some loose pins as well. So we're gonna look at that one under the microscope now. I believe it was this main chip here. There's one of these pins. There's 1, 2. And it's just from over and over that when the cartridge gets inserted and taken out, just flexes just a little bit. And that's enough to make it pop off sometimes. So we'll go ahead and reflow that, and we'll touch it up as necessary. And it's basically going to be the same deal as the FireRed. So I'll actually clean it first this time. That's just alcohol and a toothbrush. I'm just being kind of gentle. That looks fine. Now I'll go ahead and do both sides, because why not? The only other precaution I think I'll take on this one is I'll cover this infrared thing with some Captain tape, and that'll protect it from heat. Because I think it's got some plastic on there. So it's just this little yellow tape. And that'll absorb heat instead of putting it all through the plastic. So we'll do this side first. Let me move this. And I have the hot air at the same temperature. It's just let's see, it's heating up. 385. I'm going to preheat it. So I'm just going to heat the area. And then I'm going to press, let's see, I'll press down on the corners like this. And then I'll come in. And I'm actually looking at those capacitors. You can see the components below where the solder will it turns molten. And now I'll let go. I'll wait for it to harden. And I am pressing down with a fair amount of pressure. It's not going to hurt the chip. Like even you could scratch these up and ding them pretty good, and it's not gonna hurt anything. But let's look now. Is that what, second one? That's still loose, huh? So let's try something different. I'm going to come in with the soldering iron. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some solder on the tip before I touch it. And then we're going to come in, just do one at a time. And let me check it again. Cool. Solid, solid. That's solid too. Looks good. I'll check the other side. And that all looks good. So let me just clean it up real quick and then we'll test it. Okay, so I'm recording again. Let's see if it works. So I'll just put it in my 3DS. There you go.
Amazing, it works.
It's just funny how like the years and years and years of just putting it in and out can crack the joints like that.
Yeah.
Save data cannot be accessed.
Well, as long as the game's alive again, it's fine.
Well, let's see if we can get the save file working, because I'm not giving up yet. I'm just curious if the save file is on that same chip or if it's stored elsewhere. Because I think with the DS games, they kind of combined it together. I'm just going to double check all the work that I've done on this side. Let me bring it in closer just to make sure I didn't bridge anything. Those look good. How about these ones? Maybe I'll reflow these as well. I don't think this is the save, but I'm not sure with the DS games. I haven't seen a lot on these. So I think what I'll do is I'm going to go ahead and I'll go ahead and touch these ones up too, just to be safe. And even if the joint isn't necessarily loose, you could still have a bad connection. Let me clean off the tip, and then we'll do these other components as well, just to do everything we can. So I'll just put flux, and I'm just going to use the solder that's there. That's not going to be a huge deal. I'll even touch up this infrared. This is a quartz for timekeeping, I think. Maybe that's used to time the signals on the infrared. And I feel pretty confident about these ones. Okay. Here I'm going to get a better angle so I can come in, because sometimes with these really small spots, I'm actually holding the iron with 2 hands, because otherwise it just won't be sturdy enough. There we go. That side looks good. Let's do this side. It might be difficult to see, but let me see if I could point it out with this pic. You see how there's like a small black separator between the solder, and then there's like another little pad of metal.
Yes.
Might be a little difficult to see, but these QFN chips sometimes they have a pad on the bottom, but then they also have this pad on the side. So even though it may be connected from the bottom, it could be the possibility of a bad joint there as well. But when I go back and touch these up, sometimes you'll see that it'll actually bridge to that top point, but that'll provide for a better joint. Looks like I'm out of flux right there, so let me just do that again. So see these two, and then compare them to those left two, where once I touched it up, it's going all the way to the top of that metal pad. It's making it a lot more solid of a connection. I don't know if this is necessarily what's causing the issue. These are probably fine. Go ahead and touch this one up. And I'll touch this one up. Awesome. Those all look great. That looks great. Let me touch up this. And then I'll do this chip. This one you could see it more clear. See that there's that separation between the solder and that little pin. And then once I touch it, that'll be fully connected. So those will all be super solid moving forward. And let me touch up the other sides of these. And then finally we'll do... Did I do these pins yet? I forget. I'll go ahead and do it anyways. Okay. I'll clean it up and then we'll test it out. Okay. So we're going to try loading it again. Save data cannot be accessed. Please turn off the power and reinsert the game card. Let's take one more look. We can actually take a look at the individual components as well. Because it could just be that we're missing something. Just examine all of our work. That looks great. And the other thing that kind of sucks about this is I don't have a reference cart. Those all look great. So I think the last thing I'll do is just like a last-ditch effort. I'll just check all the components and see if anything looks odd or out of the ordinary. So the first thing I'll do is I'll just check these capacitors. I'll just see if any of them are grounding or shorting. So if, I don't know if you'll be able to hear the beeping, but if it beeps when checking one of these capacitors, that's not a good sign. So those all look fine. Let's check this one. Oops. That's fine. That's fine. I'm not sure what this chip does necessarily. I'm going to go ahead and check these resistors as well. And we'll just see what the values are. This is a resistor array, so these should all be the same value. So that's 100K. Let me come in here. That's 100K. That's 100K. That's 100K. So that's fine. How about this one? That's 100. That's 100. Let me pause this for a second. I'm going to see if I could find like a pinout of like a DS game cart, and I can see if maybe there's some hint there that I could use to troubleshoot this a little bit further. So we pulled the save chip file off, and it turns out that the legs were completely broken off. The legs were completely broken off the save module. It wasn't making any connection. My best guess is that this is what was causing the issue. It couldn't read the save chip. I do think that we can still save the data off this cart, if not temporarily. What I want to do is I want to scrape away at these areas to expose some of the copper. I might actually need a sharper blade to kind of chip away at this here. There you go, you can see some of that copper there. That whole part just completely broke off. So let's see what we can do. I'll be right back when I get more of this scraped off. So I went ahead and unpaused the video. This Pokemon board, we're going to have to wait until we get a replacement save chip. Oh, that was hot. I don't have anything on hand right now to swap that out. So we're going to see if we could find a copy of that, and we'll follow up on this game in a second part. We got a third board here, and that was an action replay, right?
Yes.
And what exactly was the issue with this one? It wasn't booting at all?
It just doesn't boot.
Okay. And this
It
was
just
the
wouldn't
one
read it.
I saw. You see how loose that is?
Yes.
So I think what we could try doing with this one is let's just try flowing that one chip in place, because I think everything else I checked on it seemed perfectly fine. It was just that one spot. And it makes sense because this board is super thin and a little bit flimsier than the original board. So I think what I'll do is I'll just heat it down, and then I will touch up those pins, and we'll just see if it boots. Actually, I think I'll need to pull up my DS Lite for this one. So let's just heat this up.
I think it is compatible with the DSi, if you have one of those as well.
I'm curious if it would fit in the 3DS. I'll have to try it. Okay, I'll let that go. Those look good. I wouldn't be surprised if it was just that with this one. I think that other board, like the Pokemon board, Nintendo really cheaped out with the...
Yeah, they very much did. There's my girlfriend was telling me about how a lot of in her words, a lot of boards were just bad and just dead. Like the game would just die. It would just suddenly stop working, and it's probably because of that. It's how cheap how cheap the build was.
Phew! Oh man, I'm sneezing now.
But it's not all that bad, right? Now we
No.
know why, right?
Phew! Yeah, I'm willing to bet other people are having the same issue because of that same reason. Because that middle pad isn't held down by anything.
Yep. Their save files are just dead.
Yeah.
And I was reading, it's like they can't like they can start a new game, but they can't actually like save it at all.
Yeah, and it could be an issue that has a like a sliding scale of severity, where once those pins start to go bad, it's just a matter of time till they all break. Because I
Yep.
think the read and write, they might
Hmm?
happen on a different leg. So let's say only like one of those legs is broken. It might just affect functionality partially. Okay. Let me see if this
Uh,
even fits in
Question.
the...
In terms of filth, how filthy was it inside the action replay?
It was a little dusty around the SD card slot, but that's about it.
Gotcha.
It wasn't too
I,
bad beyond that.
could you show me how it looks under the hood? Because I've never actually seen
Oh
one.
sure.
Just
Here, let me
under.
let me
I
back
want I
this
want to
up a
see
little
how it
bit.
looks just in general.
Let me turn this down. It's a little hard to see. So on the back side, you've got your USB port. It
Mm-hmm.
looks like some type of power regulation. You've got your SD card slot. You've got a microcontroller here. That's an Actel Pro ASIC 3. Some header pins, which are just used probably for programming this microcontroller. And then on the other side, you have a chip which is not too dissimilar from the ROM chip on the DS, other DS games. You have a crystal quartz, which is probably used to sync up this microcontroller with whatever's going on here. It might be, I'm not sure exactly what this is, another microcontroller. Looks like a transistor, a few other components, and then the other cartridge slot. So that's basically it.
You were mentioning to me over Discord, I think you're like, oh, I wonder if someone can put this inside like have this like built into a DS. Do you
Oh
think it would
yeah.
be feasible?
Uh, Probably not. I didn't
It's
expect the
too
board to be this
it's
huge.
chonky.
I thought
Yeah.
maybe it would be like two separate boards, but that'd be a huge pain in the butt. Maybe if you desoldered this.
These maybe like a modified casing
Yeah, maybe
that
a
I'm
casing that was
thinking.
a little bit thicker. But I think if you remove this cartridge slot, remove the USB port, maybe. But I mean, I guess at that point you might as well just like mod your console,
Yeah.
especially if you have a 3DS or a DSi. Let's see if this fits in the 3DS. This will be a mistake. Uh, this housing is super flimsy. Like this one is really just kind of glued together. Oh yeah, it won't fit in the 3DS. So let me grab my DS Lite and I'll be right back. So it is working now. Let me see if I can focus. There it is,
Yep.
Daytel.
It's turning on. Yeah. Yep.
And it's kind of hard to see, but it says loading code list. Please wait. Do not insert or remove any game carts while loading code lists. I wonder if that the smaller chip, the one with all those legs, that might be the onboard storage to store all the different codes. So let's try codes. Super Mario 64 DS. Okay. Could do press B to moon jump. And then I'll start game. We'll just make sure that's working.
So I'll have a I actually just ordered a Pokemon White before this, and it's working. So I don't want to exactly rip the save file off it, but I'm going to the housing is badly damaged.
Uh-huh.
So I'm probably gonna end up like taking it off and then just putting like new housing on it. So I'll let you know if the white one has like the same exact what's it called? Layout. And I'm willing to bet they use the same chip on it.
The Pokemon White.
Well, yeah, because I'm looking at a Soul Silver copy right now, and the Soul Silver has the same exact schematics as the White 2 we were just looking at.
Hey, look at that. It's working. Moon jump.
It is.
Okay, cool. I don't know. I have some adhesive I could use to glue it together, but I'm not sure. Do you want me to leave that up to you? I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want.
Let me think about it, because
Okay.
I know like super glue would make it super tough to open back up, but
You
then
know
again,
what? You
you
know
would
what?
hope you don't have to
I have the
open it.
perfect adhesive for this. Let me go grab it. So I forgot I had this. It's B7000. So this is like a glue that you would use for smartphone screens. So it's flexible. It doesn't cure hard.
Hmm.
So if you ever did need to get it apart again, you would just need to do some gentle prying.
And
So
it'll be good enough to where it'll hold it together.
yeah.
All right, that's nice. That's really good.
So I'll go ahead and do that adhesive, and so that's 2 out of 3. That's not too bad. And we got Pokemon White booting. It's just that save file was
Yeah.
that little save chip was screwed. So it
Yep.
is what it is. Okay. So I'm gonna wrap up the video portion, and when we get, if you are able to locate a Japanese copy or another copy of that game that has that save chip intact.
I found plenty on eBay, so
Okay, so we'll
and
do that in another part. And that's going to be it for this video. If you do need a game that needs repairing, feel free to send that my way. And I just want to say thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.